All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to today's live commentary NASCAR coverage. I should say morning coverage of what is Southern 500 practice and qualifying as we kickstart the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs this weekend at the Darlington Raceway with a crown jewel race, of course, that we have been seeing at the beginning of the playoffs for several years now. Last year was actually the regular season finale because of the extra off week during the NASCAR season compared to recent years before that. This year, back into the playoff opener yet again. And obviously, we will have qualifying immediately after the practice session. For practice today, it is simple 25 minutes. Each group of cars, two different groups, will be on the racetrack at the same time. And I do believe all the playoff drivers will be on the track in group number 2, if I'm not mistaken. And they will also be the last 16 drivers to qualify for when we do get into that portion of the stream as well. As of right now, only 9 drivers have hit the racetrack so far in practice of this first group of cars, which is 19. We have a 38-car field for this weekend. Michael McDowell for Spire Motorsports currently sits atop the leaderboard in the first couple of minutes, 29.007. His teammate Carson Hocevar is second. Justin Haley up in the top 5 now has just been bumped back to 6th. And then even further back than that. Another lap by Haley, and he's up to second, right behind his teammate, 29.123. We've seen these Spire Motorsport Chevys perform very good in practice and qualifying all season so far this year. So probably not a surprise that right out of the gate, they're looking pretty quick with the clean and green racetrack. Truck Series is racing at Darlington this weekend. Xfinity at Portland. Truck Series had their practice and qualifying session yesterday evening. Lane Riggs will be on the pole for that race. And that will be starting at noon Eastern time today. So whatever rubber that would have been on the racetrack would have been basically left over from the night before. NASCAR always sweeps the tracks off first thing before whatever sort of, series would take the track first for that next day. So that rubber was pretty much gone. So fresh, clean racetrack here as we begin this practice session. Open up the chat for a quick second. It looks like Marcus Villarreal, welcome to the stream, and many others welcome in as we get this session beginning. I'll let you listen into the True TV coverage for practice side of things, and obviously we get to qualifying. I'll be taking over for the most part when we get to that side. Still about an hour away from that.
I think the thought when you come to Darlington is you hear it all the time. You have to race the racetrack. You have to use finesse. You have to use discretion. You can do all those things and go slow. You can't ride around this racetrack. You have to attack it. There's only one way to make pace here, and that's to attack. And you have to be at 98% all the time. If you don't, you're going to be going slow. So this is a great mix. How can you operate on the limit for as long as possible without making a mistake? Because there may be a few cars tomorrow night that could go fast without 100% effort from the driver, but the majority of drivers are going to have to be given everything they have the entire night.
Already much quicker than the spring, Steve, with the lap times. Michael McDowell right at the 29 flat mark. But is there a track where you worry less as a crew chief, Steve, about stopwatch, and you want more to know what your driver wants feel-wise out of the car?
I only want it to go fast. I'll be honest, I don't think.
So you don't care about the feel, you just want speed.
I don't care how it feels anywhere we go.
Sorry, Jeff.
I think that world of NASCAR is over. No, and here's why. It can't be undrivable. So I'm a little tongue-in-cheek. I can't have Jeff come in and say, man, I can't drive this thing, I'm going to wreck it. But I don't really care if it feels good. If it's fast, then it's a contest of speed. It's not a ride contest. We're not driving Cadillacs here in the United States. We're racing. So I have to give my driver something that he can control for 500 miles. He has to be comfortable enough to be able to race around other cars. But Jeff, would you rather have a bad driving fast car or a good driving slow one, right? I think you need something in the middle. It's fair, but you can't just give speed completely away. Well, the truth is, this is a great shot. Look at this. This is amazing. Look how close you get to the wall. The truth is, almost every driver is going to complain about the same thing. Yeah, it's just some cars and drivers can. Oh, contact.
That is the classic Darlington stripe, Jeff.
But that's what we talk about.
right? I mean, you can ride around this racetrack and never do that, and never hit the wall, and you're going to go slow. You have to be operating way up in the limit. So here we go, entering turn 3. See, he's a little bit lower than the 6, trying to get a little bit of clean air, which is what you think you'd want to do, right? And then he gets up there and gets a little bit out of the groove and makes contact. But the truth is, you're better off entering high. You're better off entering up against the wall. You tend to make contact less when you enter against the wall versus running up the racetrack. And that's so counter, just not what you would think, Dave.
Jeff, I want to pick up on something that Steve said. Steve, it was like you, me, and team manager for RFK Racing, Doug Randolph, were having coffee together this morning because the subject was, it's not the way it used to be. And the subject was because they're bringing fast cars at RFK Racing. You saw that even with that wall contact, Ryan Preece is a fast race car this weekend. You expect the 6 and 17 to be fast as well. But it's not like it used to be. Doug said to me, you know what? It's not that they don't reward speed. They love speed. They reward winning. They don't reward consistency like they have in the past. So that was the message kind of around the shop this week. 10 races to go, 3 cars that can win for RFK Racing, but it is about the winning. The consistency doesn't matter as much, so go out there and go get them.
My only counter would be if you were consistently near the front, you could have made it on points like the 48 did or the 45 did. So the teams that say it's not about consistency weren't consistently fast enough. I do agree that, look, wins are the ultimate goal, right, Jeff? And a win puts you in the playoffs. So a trophy is who we celebrate. We don't have a podium, right? Like, we celebrate the winner and only the winner. But if you're consistently top 5 or top 6, it's good enough. If you're consistently improving, I think that's everyone's goal. But you have to be, really, really good. The field is really as close as it's ever been.
That's the thing, Steve. It's so competitive that the guys that have the best chance to win are the ones that spend most of the time at the front of the pack. Watching, we're lap 13 on runs, cars have been falling out all, second half of time from when they first unloaded, ran their first lap. This guy right here, Noah Gragson, he's been pretty quick. I've been paying attention. He was able to make some passes. Was able to run the bottom, run the top. Noah's got to be pretty happy with his car right now. As fast as anybody. 5th fastest in this group. But when I look at later run speed and the ability for him to move around the racetrack and run different places, I'm like, Noah's got to be pretty happy.
Former Xfinity Series winner here is Noah Gragson, and it's one track where you can kind of go, Jeff, but you get into a rhythm, and you can apply it maybe from Xfinity to Cup versus other tracks.
Yeah, I think so. I think drivers they tend to like this track or not like it. You know what I mean? It's something. People feel the same way about Martinsville. People feel the same way about Homestead. Places that can be very, very challenging. Some drivers go right to it. Noah's one of those people that likes this type of racetrack. Likes it when it gets slick. Car slides around a little bit. We see 10-lap averages. Noah's 5th. Some of that he's lower than he should be because he had to make some passes. And that lowered his time a little bit.
Also on the top of that chart, Justin Haley, the quickest. So, Steve, how does this team build off of that near win last week at Daytona? I mean, he was a lap short of being in the playoffs and winning at Daytona.
Well, this goes back to what Dave was reporting on, right? Being consistent. And I think that's what Spire had done. Look, their 1st, 2nd, and 4th right there in the fastest lap. I know this is just Group 1. But I know last week was close. But the goal is, I fell on it, is not leave it up to Daytona next year to try to qualify at point. Because I thought they did an amazing job right there in that bright number 7 Gainbridge car on the left side of your screen. Haley did, I thought, everything he could do. He was just up against numbers. They were going to finally pull out a line, and they did. Look, they had us. Alex Bowman told us this week that it was enjoyable watching until it got ready to go. And he goes, it got real all of a sudden that we could have a new winner. So I think Haley's doing an amazing job. This is a great track. 3 top 10s here.
Yep.
So this is a track, to your point, Jeff, that he's obviously found some comfort or confidence at. That's the idea of building.
Yeah, if you look at that top 5 from Daytona, 4 of them were non-winners going into that race, Jeff. So I agree with Alex Bowman. It was really real for those final 5 laps. There would be a brand new winner last Saturday night.
We needed an Alex Bowman cam
That would have been fantastic.
At least like one of the boot bands with just a heart rate.
Yeah, I know.
His heart rate's going up, folks. He's sitting in his bus.
And he and his crew chief are watching it together, right? And it's all relaxed until about 10 to go. Then he's like,
Oh, it's
this
great.
is real.
How does one repay 7 million beers? That's what I want to know. He said, said he owed Ryan Blaney 7 million beers after the race.
You know what's required?
What's that?
Commitment
You got-
and some friends.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know how you repay him, but if Blaine going to cash it in, I'll help him consume
If he needs some help.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
We're-
exactly.
We're team players, Marty.
Jeff, how would you evaluate the regular season for Carson Hocevar?
So look, I think a good year for Carson. You know, we talked a lot about his ability to make speed, go fast. Obviously, needs to clean some stuff up on the racetracks. But you saw him doing that in the situations. You also saw him still needing to make steps. So I think time is in this guy's favor. I think it helps him. The thing he has that everybody wants to see. And with that, he can be successful. So I think another year of cup racing, getting himself in those situations as he's trying to figure out when to push, when not to push. I think time helps him. The ability to take a step back and not, you have to listen to the noise because the noise is some of the criticism that he needs. Sure. But understand when it's his fault and when it's not. And don't let him pile on and take his spirit and his energy away. Be a better driver, try to work with the teammates and the drivers on track better, but don't take away his spirit. That's a hard thing to do. Slowing a guy down at the right time and also keep him pumped up.
Dave, fourth fastest so far for Carson Hocevar.
Looking good, Marty. In my first conversation with fans in the garage area this morning, they said, hey, we're from Manawha, Michigan. That's not far from where Carson Hocevar grew up in Portage and Dave Burns in Kalamazoo. So we had a good conversation about this driver, and they love watching him race here. Jeff, I want to ask you, one of the things that the spotter's been trying to get him to do, it's important here at Darlington, back up your entry. How does that help here at Darlington?
Well, so what's interesting, you know, is all of the spotters, they have driver data. They can look and see where their drivers get beat and where they're better. So I'm sure what his spotter is looking at, Tyler Green's looking and saying, hey, you carry too much speed on corner entry, and that's hurting you through the middle. It's hurting your exit. Let's try to back that up a little bit. See if we can give up a little bit of speed and then maybe go back to the gas sooner to make your center of the corner speed better. It's just great information live, on time, with limited practice, Marty. It's something that these teams have found a way to do, is to get information to the drivers faster so they can adapt. Because see, if a driver can make an adjustment, in many cases, driving style can help, and they can do that quickly.
I think that's what makes this track so just amazing. Is there are certain tracks, Jeff, that I'm not sure you can change a whole lot. Right? It's kind of up to the car guys to make some changes. Here, you can be a little creative. You know, drive a little bit, hand out the window, a little thank you for Brad as he drives on by. The little bit fresher tires make such a difference. I mean, it's just a handful, 4 or 5 laps over most guys, but man, it's a big difference.
Steve, Brad Keselowski won here last spring, but there will be no RFK car in the 2025 version of the playoffs. Any panic there or no?
Well, disappointment for sure.
Right.
I know they added the third car, and that's a tall task, and I give them probably an A or a B plus on adding the race car. Now that's as well of an expansion as we've seen in recent years. Very good point. But an A on the third car, but it moved the Brad car to probably a C. Definitely hurt the 6. I feel like the 17 is kind of right there where he always is. It just cards didn't fall the right way. He maybe could have won a race. The 6, when they just got off to an ice cold start. And, you know, we talk about how long the season is, but I'm going to tell you, if you get off to a bad start for 5 weeks, there's not enough weeks left in the regular season unless you can win. Winning is a golden ticket.
And some near misses.
Yes.
Right? They came so close multiple times, and in today's world, winning a race, that is huge. And when you have it right in front of you, you have to find a way to execute. So a solid year for this team, but this series is built on making the playoffs. This team is capable. RFK has continued to improve. The last several years, they've got better and better and better. And the next step is not just make playoffs, but to put multiple cars in the playoffs. And I think they're capable of doing it.
This is certainly the highlight of 2024 for RFK with Brad Keselowski getting the Darlington win, putting him in the playoffs really kind of early in the season, Jeff, and they were able to, learn some things obviously in the playoffs. How do they take these 10 races now to make themselves better for 2026?
Well, that is the mindset, right? Let's go win races. Go those near misses. Let's get them now. Like let's go and just continue to improve. It is a different feel when you're not in the playoff. That's when you're. All right, so give us some great information. Think you're better, but he runs a little bit higher on the entry of one. Maybe you want to try that, but just use these next 10 as a springboard to next year.
I love what you were saying.
I think about add points.
Yeah.
You can keep climbing the points. And that is a sign of where you are as a company. And financially that matters too. So work on keep climbing those points.
But I love what you were saying. It is certainly a different feel for these teams, not in the playoffs, but still on track, obviously, with those who are in the playoffs.
Marty, the 16 waited a few laps before they went out on track. So Brad has about 7 less laps on his car than the car that has run the most laps so far today.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
Look at that highlight from last year. Brad winning here. He knows what he likes in this current generation car and how to win here. He's got 2 wins at this track, but recent memory and recent understanding is so important. So when he radioed his crew today and said, I think the car is pretty good, and he knows. Let's go to Mama Smith.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning here, guys, at the racetrack down on Pit Road. Crisp, the sun's out, but this is not how we're going to be racing. So, Chip, Steve, how are the teams and the drivers going to adjust? How much did you really learn practicing in the morning like this? Obviously, it's cool out, but it's not going to be as cool when we go racing later on.
So, Jim, I actually think this is close to probably finishing conditions. Tomorrow night when the Southern 500 finishes up to the lights, are the track temperature will probably be very similar to this. So, man, it's Todd Gill in this little high off turn 2 right there. I think that's really, and actually, as silly as this sounds, I think it changes a track like this that's low grip. It's less of a swing than a high grip racetrack like maybe Charlotte or Indy. 34 has had an eventful practice right here. This is exiting turn 4.
He caught it.
Oh, that doesn't even count as a time. Right.
That's close, though.
That's like a freebie here. Yeah. And he gets just a little, once again.
Oh, that's just a little.
He's just selling
Little
picks.
pitch for the wall. That's fine.
He's out here selling picks, getting on TV, just putting on the show.
Why not, right? But to your point, when I was in the garage area earlier, Steve, talking to a lot of crew chiefs, they really felt like, certainly, maybe not for Group A, because the track was so clean, but putting rubber on the track with Group A, once Group B gets on the track, they'll get a real read for what it's going to be like late in the race tomorrow night.
Yeah, I really think the track changes more with the rubber than it does with the temperature. You can still learn a lot. Like right here, the 71 at McDowell's learning a lot behind the 54. You're going to have to find a way to be good in traffic once you like your car. Now, the 71 has 22 laps on his tires, the 54 35. So if we follow this for a couple laps, if you're in the 71, you should be able to go on a 54, no problem. And if you can't with 12 lap pressure tires, then you have an issue. Because if he can't,
And Ty Gibbs actually a little bit quicker.
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And if we can talk about the difficulty to pass, the dirty air and all that, yeah, that's fine. There's 36 of you. You're going to have the same problem. So, this 71 should be able to run lower, specifically down here in 3 and 4. I think it's where you can get out of the wake of the 54. Here you go. He's going to do it. He's going to run lower. This is where you got to inch your way in. He's just unable to complete this pass. 54. This is probably the car of all the cars that miss the playoffs. It's either Buescher or Ty Gibbs that shocked me the most. I really thought Ty, even without a win, just driving for Gibbs, I thought he was going to be able to figure it out.
If you're the Gibbs cars that are in the playoffs, you're watching this practice and you're pretty happy. Because this 54 car, they have good speed. They took off fast. He is a runner-up finisher here, so he knows how to get around this racetrack. And his long run speed is really good. So information coming from this team to the other teams where they can make some potential changes to make their cars better. But starting already with a car that has good speed, that means at least you have a good baseline to build on. You take a team like Penske, they don't have any other car. Hendrick, they don't have other car, right? So they don't know what they got until their practice starts. But Gibbs has an opportunity, Joe Gibbs Racing has an opportunity to learn from this team.
All the playoff cars in Group B. But Steve, focusing on this 54 team, I'm curious now that the sort of hanging out there. Are we going to make the playoffs? We're not going to make the playoffs. Now that that's out of the equation for Ty Gibbs, on some level, does that take the pressure off this young guy?
Well, the reality is here. I don't know if it changes the pressure. I hope it changes the motivation. I hope he's disappointed to take the green flag not in the playoffs. I heard this hurts his feelings a little bit because I think that's the type of motivation that really helps a young driver. He's now over 100 wins. I think the next stepping stone for Ty
100 starts.
I'm sorry, 100 start. Yeah, 100 wins would be a well, I guess that's where my mind was going. The reason I said wins is because I think that for me is the next step for this sport. We can talk a lot of things, but it's winning a race. I think going to victory lane is the next springboard that Ty Gibbs needs to find a way to do. Oh, Zane Smith has spun around. I'm guessing he was trying to get to pit road and it didn't make it. That would be my guess.
Pit road practice, maybe?
No, we're good.
Let's find out together. Yes, indeed. Trying to get to pit road.
It's one of the most difficult pit roads in all of motorsports around the world. Getting on the pit road at this racetrack is exceptionally challenging. And the reasons why is number one, you can't see the injury. And when you can't see it, if you haven't already gotten slowed down, it's too late. You have to slow down so much sooner than you think. And part of that is the transition from the banking of the racetrack to the apron.
Mm-hmm.
And then the apron is so dirty. It is so dirty. And we see every
Racetrack, just see this last year, right? On the brakes, on the bank. This does a very nice job of getting down to the flat. This
Oh.
is what can happen if you stay on the bank too long. You want to stay up on that bank because it has grips, but man, there's so many different closing rates. We've seen people run each other over like this right here was a huge accident. And then Jeff, just to prove you right, you told me earlier that this is going to be a story. Zane Smith went ahead, spun out for us.
to show you how dirty the apron is, and it doesn't matter if they clean it off. It's just we're in South Carolina. It's just how it is.
Yep.
And
Close to the beach.
we went out this morning to pace car.
Yeah.
We're riding around, and I said, "Hey, Steve, let's go down the apron." Instead, you go on the apron. It sounds like you're running over 10,000 marbles constantly. Just stuff hitting the inner fender well.
Sand.
There's no
A
way
lot
to
of
clean it up.
sand.
All been like that since the beginning of time here at this racetrack, and it's still like that today.
But I think as a driver, you have to test it out. You got to get a feel for it, Jeff.
I love that he spun out today. Look, man, that's what practice is about. Like, no damage, didn't do anything wrong. He found his limit, and he most likely won't make that mistake tomorrow.
Well, I think there's some more cars here with only 35 seconds left. I would make a hot pit road entry for sure. So let's see, Carson Hocevar. Not a ton of experience compared to like a Brad Keselowski or Denny Hamlin. So let's see. I don't know if he's running another lap or he has time for another lap, but this might be a pit road entry. Jeff, where do you start thinking about it? Like, so he's running the top, so he's running another lap, right? So if you're the 77, I tell you right now in the front stretch, we're pitting next time. What info do you need, or what are you thinking as a driver, running this lap?
Well, that one thing's for sure. I don't like that surprise. I don't like going down the back straightaway and then you say, hit, 'cause I got to change mindset. And to be honest with you, if you're going into turn 3 and you're not thinking about how slow can I be, then you're not doing it right. You have to be willing to throw away what happens every other week where they get on you about getting on pit road speed, do all these things. Here it's about survival. You have to play defense. Hit this time.
He's going to run an extra lap. Now I'm furious because I won't just go that time. And if I say, don't run an extra lap, you're killing my strategy.
All right, so
He did cross with 1 second left, I believe.
let's listen to the spot.
Do your best, not the best hit. Get all you can. Already when you get there.
See how he had to slow down before he normally would? Like the pace into turn 3.
Here. One line now.
All right, so 3, 2, 1, you're at the line. Pit road speed starts. That was way conservative. Good job. Good job, Carson.
Right.
Good job. So, look, you have to enter turn 3 slower coming to pit road than you do on a normal lap. And that's counterintuitive. It makes no sense. It's the only other place you have to do that is Dover.
And nice job by spotter Tyler Green as well. Michael McDowell, Fats is here in Group A, back with all the playoff teams in Group B. Next.
We'll go through that 19-car leaderboard as Group 1 practice is wrapped up. 25 minutes of Group B will be up next. As far as Michael McDowell being at the top, behind him is teammate Justin Haley in second, Ty Gibbs third, Carson Hocevar fourth, and Noah Gregson rounding out the top five. Six was Todd Gillen, Allmendinger in seventh, Kyle Busch in eighth, Jonathan Nemechek ninth, and Ty Dillon rounds out the top 10. Riley Herbst 11th, 12th for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Zane Smith 13th, Cody Ware 14th, Ryan Preece 15th, Brad Keselowski 16th, Cole Custer 17th, Derek Kraus 18th, and Timmy Hill 19th. So that rounds out the field for now. More than 40 laps ran for a couple of drivers. Ty Gibbs went for 41, 46 for Carson Hocevar. That was the most laps ran. Hocevar really was the only driver to start and then run every single lap. Every minute of the 25 out before coming to pit road, which would have been at the end of practice. As he just saw, he was the last car on the racetrack and making his pit entry. I should say you just heard. If you were watching, it would have been on True TV visually, not here on KRC. McDowell and Haley have good speed. Yeah, the Spire Motorsport cars, I mean, they're always towards the top in practice. They tend to qualify well, and then during the course of the race, I just don't think they're able to keep up with the race cars as much as other teams. And that's where they've been lacking this year. The unload speed has been great. Whatever they're doing during the week to set themselves up for the beginning of the weekend, phenomenal. I wouldn't change a thing there, but they're going to have to figure out their long run speed. Hocevar had a bit of that earlier in the season, not as much through the mid to late summer months. And I'd say even maybe the same for Michael McDowell, who was top 16 in points for a lot of the first half of the regular season and then started to fall behind there in those last couple of months leading up to the playoffs. So we'll take our first break. That's the first commercial break. I'm surprised they didn't take one. Usually midway through the session, they'll take a commercial. But we'll take a break of our own, and then we'll go over the point standings coming into this weekend with the playoffs beginning. By the way, our like goal is to get to 50 likes on this morning's live commentary stream for NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying for the Southern 500. The race will be beginning tomorrow evening, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern or right around there. Our stream for tomorrow's race, though, will begin at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll be going through my predictions for who I think is going to make it through not only this round of the playoffs, but every round. My predictions for who I think will run well, not run well in tomorrow's race. Fantasy Live, we kickstart the playoff order. Remember, Monster Jam X10 won our regular season last week, finishing out at Daytona. So again, congratulations to him. But playoffs will be beginning tomorrow for the Fantasy League, and obviously trivia to go along with that, as we do every week here with the Cup Series live commentary streams on the channel. Here's the playoff order coming into this weekend's playoff opener at Darlington Raceway. Kyle Larson is the number 1 seed. Now, I don't know how they deter who has the seeding purposes, 1 versus 2. It really doesn't matter because Larson and Byron both are plus 26, tied with the most playoff points above the cut line. Byron, of course, is the regular season champion, which we've only seen since 2014 2 times where a driver won the regular season championship but missed the championship 4. Byron's got a great round of tracks for him here in this round, especially at Darlington, where he has won before. He won the Darlington Spring Race of 2023, and he's had several other good runs here in the past in recent memory. Kyle Larson, a former Southern 500 winner of this race 2 years ago back in 2023. Again, plus 26 points above the cut line for Larson and Byron. Denny Hamlin, plus 23 points, is the 3 seed. He's a 5-time Darlington winner coming into this weekend. Should have a pretty solid run. Ryan Blaney, plus 20, has never won at Darlington. He did finish top 5 here in the spring. That was his best finish at the racetrack in his Cup career. Christopher Bell's finished 3rd in his last 2 races at Darlington. He's plus 17 points above the cut line. SVG plus 16, making his 3rd Darlington start this weekend. And as for SVG, he finished 20th in the spring race. 4 wins in the regular season, but he has not scored a single top 10 on any oval racetrack. Round of 16, all ovals. Going to be interesting to follow how he does from beginning to end of these first 3 races. Chase Elliott plus 7 points above the cut line. He is not really known for race-winning speed at Darlington. He actually hasn't led a lap here in the next-gen era. Last 9 races, he hasn't led a lap, but he has been scoring some top 10s. He has had 4 top 10s in that stretch. He's finished in the top 12, 6 of the 7 next-gen races here. Former winner at Darlington. In fact, last year's Southern 500 winner, Chase Briscoe, comes in plus 4 points above the cut line. Bubba Wallace plus 2, Austin Cindric plus 2, and then Ross Chastain, Joey Logano both plus 1 point above the cut line as we begin the round of 16. 4 drivers outside looking in will be Josh Berry -1, Tyler Reddick -1, -2 for Austin Dillon, and -5 for the 16 seed Alex Bowman. So that will be the playoff outlook coming into the weekend. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of scrambling around with that as we get into the beginning of tomorrow night's race. So Group 2 of practice will be beginning shortly here on the channel. Another commercial break currently ongoing on True TV. We'll look at the lap averages from that first group of practice, see who ranked the best under certain categories. Michael McDowell, who was fastest overall in practice with the fastest 1 singular lap time, also had the fastest 5-lap average. His teammate Justin Haley, though, had the fastest 10, 15, and 20 lap averages in practice. A little bit longer run, though. That's where Ty Gibbs and Joe Gibbs Racing seem to shine. Only JGR car in that first group was Gibbs, of course, the only one not to make the playoffs. 30.55 average over 25 laps, 30.66 over 30 laps, fastest in both of those categories. So Spire Motorsports for the short run, fall behind on the long run, kind of mentioned that already. That's kind of been their struggling point, it seems like, especially in these intermediate tracks throughout the season. Ty Gibbs, though, and Joe Gibbs Racing, good on the long run. I'm curious to see how the correlation is going to be between guys like Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell on the Toyota side of thing with the long runs. 23XI is another team that tends to practice and qualify well. Earlier in the season, I'd say they were falling behind more in the race, but they've been pretty red hot when it comes to just overall race speeds, especially on these low grip racetracks. Richmond I shouldn't even say earlier this season, 2 weeks ago at Richmond, I'd say the 45 and the 23 were the 2 best cars that day. Leading up to the speeding penalty, I don't think it was a speeding penalty for Bubba Wallace. I think it was a pit road penalty, though, that set him back and dropped him off the lead lap. And obviously the incident with Tyler Reddick while he was leading the race nonetheless. Tough break there where Ty Gibbs had gotten into another car, which got into, unfortunately, Tyler Reddick while leading. And around goes Reddick, backs it into the outside wall, and pretty much ends his day. I think he stayed in the race, but was off the pace and finished many laps down. Reddick's still looking for his first win of the season. He hasn't won at Darlington, but he's been very strong here. He's actually had 3 top 3 finishes in the next-gen era at this track. He was a runner-up in the 2022 spring event. He's finished top 5 4 of the 7 races here, top 10 in 5. One of the favorites coming into the race weekend, and I'd probably say the favorite to win this weekend of those that don't have a win yet this season. Always kind of circle like 5 or 6 guys who I think could win coming into the weekend. And then once we see cars on the racetrack the day before the race, practice and qualifying on weeks that it, of course, doesn't get rained out, get a good gauge of, better gauge, I should say, of who I think is personally going to win or be the most competitive for that. So first practice session we've seen in 3 weeks. No practice for Daytona last week was even scheduled. And then Richmond washout for practice and qualifying. Qualifying also got washed out at Daytona last week. I shouldn't say washed out. It was more lightninged out. But got to go all the way back to the third to last race of the regular season at Watkins Glen was the last time we actually saw a practice session in the Cup Series. Washout here this morning. Cool. The heat hasn't gotten there yet. Will be soon. Cars on the racetrack as of right now as we begin Group 2 of practice for the Southern 500.
Including Bubba Wallace and the 23 team. Little pep talk before practice gets started.
Absolutely.
Time to lock in, Steve, for all the playoff teams, and this is where it all starts.
70 days. That used to be the speech, right? 70 days. We've worked all year long for the opportunity. You just never know when your next chance to win a championship may be. Like, you can't assume you're going to be back every year. So I love that approach. Have fun, I think, is key, but I do believe trying to take, it's week by week, but you know that make a few extra sacrifices, try to commit everything you can.
And I would say, Jeff, in our meeting with them earlier this week, it's a lighter, freer Bubba Wallace than I've ever seen him in his career.
Yeah, he talked a lot about how, fatherhood has changed his perspective on life. And this is really important, but it's not as important as, being a father and doing the right thing there. So yeah, I think it is a healthy perspective. Clearly, you have to stay hungry, and he certainly is. But being able to take those bad days and push them aside, right, and move to the next thing. That's an important part of being a race car driver, crew chief, crew member, because you're going to have a lot of bad days. You got to get over them and move forward.
You'll notice that the playoff drivers are highlighted in yellow, left-hand side of your screen. And see, I wouldn't be alarmed if they don't jump up there and kind of pass the guys in Group A, as we mentioned. Group A probably going to be faster today because of the clean racetrack. But Group B will probably give a more real feel of the track race conditions tomorrow night.
And you see Bubba Wallace jumping in on the second lap all the way up to 8th quick, and that 29.40. Just a great look right here. Back to Kyle Larson, puts some work in.
1 and 2 as Larson kind of buffets around inside the car.
It's not a smooth racetrack. As expected, Kyle Larson already on the boards, right against the fence.
I love how quiet his hands are, though, Jim. Like, just watch this. He's going to turn in. Man, his hands are quiet behind the wheel of that thing.
Watch his entry. This is the exit 2. Now the back straightaway. Watch his entry into 3. This is what he's so good at. See how close he is entering the wall, entering the corner? He doesn't leave the wall and then slide up to it. He stays against it. And that makes the car drive so much better.
He did leave the wall, though, that
We're
time.
on board with Kyle Busch. You can hear the car bottoming out a little bit. You never heard that on Kyle Larson's run. So far, we haven't heard.
I think that's because he runs the top.
From the start.
If you run the bottom, I think the car travels more. Run the top, you just don't get the vertical load.
Interesting.
But what's interesting is most of these guys started off running the top. Are they going to do that in qualifying?
Good
Like
point.
so in qualifying, when you pull high air pressure, more grip, are you actually better off making the racetrack a little bit shorter? It's going to be fun to see if they do change their line.
Boy, Steve, nobody comes into the playoffs with more momentum than this guy, Ryan Blaney, a career best of 6 straight top 10 finishes.
7.
Win at Daytona.
7 straight.
And this
Get
is
your
just
facts
like
right.
roll.
Speed fixes everything. If you look at NASCAR
Yeah.
insights,
I thought it was
he's
7.
Second on speed, first on passing.
My facts might be wrong.
Every driver we talked to this week, we kind of put them on the spot. Nobody wants to rank their opponents, but everybody, when we said, hey, who do you have your eye on? Who's the biggest competition? Who's it? However we worded the question, it seemed to be Blaney kept coming up. They said he can recover. He has speed. The 12 car just had that,
I was.
that
wait.
factor that's hard to measure. He could
Yeah, it was only
overcome
6.
mistakes because he has fast enough cars to pass.
My bad.
The negatives,
Yes.
will knock them off out of the playoffs is the DNFs, the issues, right? They've got to clean that up. Now, I will say there are a lot of the problems they haven't been their fault. There's been a lot of things that have happened in this team that were out of their control. And that can happen to anybody, but it's not a 100% clear pathway to be, to Phoenix with a chance to win a championship. You got to work your way through these playoffs, and those bad days have got to go away for this team.
7 DNFs tied for the most in the series season. And Blaney told me for us to finish second in the regular season points with 7 DNFs is amazing. But you also look at what happened last week. They went from 5th to 2nd in the regular season. They won the race. That's a 9 playoff point swing for Ryan Blaney one night.
Yeah, and you might need though. I'm telling you, the 4 drivers that get eliminated in the first round will all have an issue, a DNF or mechanical. I mean, this first round is kind of a round of survival. Practice here, Darlington, has been a bit of a survival. We had the 34 get into the wall there in the first practice.
Yep.
So far, clean here with the 12.
William Byron's been eventful though.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of excitement right here, running the top of 1 and 2. He's gonna roll the bottom, and these guys right here just decide to run the top, and he's like,
Wow.
hey, like, oh, what's the deal? Wow, that would have frustrated me. Oh,
Yeah.
It would be frustrating. I mean, like, I know it wasn't on purpose, but you guys do better than that.
Let's check your mirrors, boys.
Let's listen in to what Byron had to say. Holy, unbelievable. That was like a great right there. Not Frank ever done back there. Wake up. Got it. Yep. Well, there you have it. They were giving all the information out there.
Talking about Mike Herman Jr., the spotter for Chris Buescher, who kind of popped up there in front of.
Let's watch this
William
24
Byron.
car. All pro sponsor car. Second time on the car this year. Watch his exit of turn 2. See how he's turn 4. See how he stays against the wall? A lot of drivers will turn and get away from the wall. William Byron, he stays against the wall. And it's only 2 or 3 feet difference. But at this racetrack, that's a massive difference in how you drive the car and how you have to set the race car up. I like what William is doing because I think that's what you're going to have to do tomorrow night. You're going to have to enter high, just like you did, just like we saw Larson. But his exit, watch what he does. He doesn't really leave the wall. He doesn't turn down and go to the bottom of the racetrack. And when you do that, the car needs to be set up a certain way. If you turn the car down the racetrack, it means something different. You see already what drivers and teams, what their mindset is coming into this racetrack. See it in practice.
Well, I've talked to Rudy Fugle about this track specifically. They were in the car in the spring. Unbelievable. Went over 240 laps. And you kind of got away from him on a green flag cycle. They knew that the 45er Reddick was coming early, and they were just going to let him cycle out there. But then they ran maybe one too many laps and didn't execute a little bit of both, and they came out behind Bell, and they just burned their tires off racing with Bell. And that's where the race kind of got away. And I so far, when I look at lap times, man, this 24 is super consistent. You heard that was Rudy Fugle complaining about the 19 on the radio. That wasn't William Byron. And I think that's his intensity. Like, the playoffs are here. We're above to say, let's enjoy it. Rudy Fugle is kind of like, here we are. We won the Daytona 500. We knew we were going to be here after the first race of the year. And all of this excitement, all of this pressure to try to win a championship. Now you get that championship run.
Denny Hamlin is a 5-time Darlington winner, including the race in the spring. They won the race off pit road and were able to hold on to the lead after William Byron dominated, as you mentioned, Steve, a moment ago. Hamlin on the radio chatting about the handling of his 11 car.
Really tight. Closure one, the cloud, 3 up into the wall, all tight.
Wow, we're barely 4 minutes into practice. That's a lot of feedback, Jeff, from Denny Hamlin.
But it's not positive. You can hear the frustration in his voice, and drivers do that, right? There's, hey, I'm tight. It should emphasize that I'm tight here, I'm tight here, I'm tight here. And he's just giving that information. If you look at that time, it shows up. He's off of other drivers with the same number of laps. He's not able to maintain the pace that he needs to. And I think back to how Rudy Fugle sounded and now Denny Hamlin, I'm telling you, the garage is different. When we reset and we go into the playoffs, it is different. There is a different intensity brought. Their patience are shorter. Your patience with yourself, your patience with your team, like Denny is here. You talked about his numbers here. They're outstanding. Well, he wants to go out there and like set the field on fire. He wants to be the car to beat. You can hear like direct feedback. We are not good. This is what we need. He knows they can't come in, but he wants them to instantly start thinking about what changes they need, even if it is overnight.
So that's driver, that's crew chief, Steve. Does that filter down all the way to the pit crews on Sunday night? That pressure level that ramps up in the playoffs?
If it doesn't, then they're in the wrong job. Like,
I love that.
We're not in, this isn't intramural sports. This is professional sports. So if you don't take the drive down to Darlington knowing your championship run starts here, then maybe you should drive somewhere else.
You know, we've talked about this a lot. Steve and I talked about it. You know, there was a time we thought we were given 100%, and we believed it. And then the playoff format started, and we learned, there was a little bit more you had to give. There was a way to go find more. And that's what big moments do, right? And in any race, in any singular race, right? You have to get more in a tight battle. Ricky Craven Kurt Busch, you know, that battle here, those guys were giving more then than they were 100 laps before that. And that's what these playoffs have done. They've ratcheted up the intensity. If you can't embrace it, I agree with Steve. Then it's not for you. But you have to, that's just what it is, Mamba. It is big moments, high pressure, you have to execute.
Brightest lights on the biggest stage, and guys, no one knows that more than Team Penske and the 22 group. We're riding along with Joey Logano, who has won here in the 400 race in the spring, not yet in the 500. I talked to Joey earlier, and I said, Joey, what do you guys do for practice here? Because you're not going to get a chance to fit. He's like, you just have to go hard. We're going to do long runs. If I come down and we make an adjustment, we're really going to give us a good gauge of what our car is going to do in the later run. We know that Darlington produced a lot of long runs. So, Jeff, as the driver, you're locked in practicing, right? You're locked in just like the race. Just in practice, it's all the same.
Well, you have to be, Mamba, because if I'm going to tell Steve what my car needs to do better, I have to be operating on the edge. I can't go out there and get 93%, say, hey, man, this has to be better, because I don't know. Until you find the limit, you don't know it's there. So these laps in practice, you have to be committed to them. You have to push hard. Logano talked about it the other day when we met with him. He said, you come here and race, it's 500 miles to qualify. Like, you got to give 100%. And, you know, again, that's what I love about this racetrack. Riding around here like he did in the 70s doesn't get it done. You have to push.
And if you're a fan asking, like, why can't you just come down pit road? You are allowed to come down pit road and make adjustments. What Mamba's talking about is every time the caution comes out here at Darlington, you're going to want to put brand new tires on. So going out on hot tires, that just gives you a misread. So that's really what he's meaning by you just have to run it out, because that's the most efficient use of practice.
Dave, how about Chase Briscoe?
Marty, I walked down pit lane with the defending winner of this race this morning and asked him what it felt like to walk in here this year. Well, last year was huge. He said it was amazing what happened. That 3-wide pass, yep, I asked him if he remembered that one. Yeah, he said, I remember that one a lot. And he keeps a text chain with the 14th crew from this race and that year. I know a lot of you guys do that. If you've run with a band of brothers, a band of sisters, a family from years past, you stick together by text now. These guys texted and said, you know, last year was great, but a year removed, we look at it now, and it's even bigger than we thought. It's a huge memory. It was a huge win to get in the playoffs last year, and this year for Chase Briscoe, with a different team, he could kick off the playoffs with success.
Boy, that win last year seemed so improbable for Chase Briscoe, and maybe not so improbable this year, though. I think, Steve, this 19 team is just now starting to find their groove, and what did he tell us the other day? We still haven't reached our potential as a race team.
They haven't, but I think James Ball, you see in the upper left right there, critique for Chase Briscoe. I think this playoffs for this organization and this team, it's really a kind of about the future. I'm not saying they couldn't win the championship this year, but when he won his first race for Gibbs, he said it just felt different because we're expected. And I think running in the playoffs for SHR versus running in the playoffs for Gibbs is going to feel very different. And I think they're going to have to understand what that's like when you come down here and everyone thinks you're a favorite, or you quote should advance. The pressure of shoulds can change how you approach things, and I think both James Small and Briscoe are up to the task. But you know what I mean, Jeff? I just think the driver has to understand what it's like to be different when you're announced as a favorite.
Well, they hadn't gotten off to a good start.
No,
Because their speed right now is off. They are not where they need to be. They're a solid 2.5, 3/10 off of the speed that it's going to take to be competitive. So this is what the playoffs are about. There's challenges all along the way. You have to navigate your way through them. Their first challenge of these playoffs that they've got to find some pace.
and this is crazy to say, Marty, but I think sometimes the hardest thing is when you put a driver in a car at a track where both were successful. What I mean is this nice team with Truex used to fly here.
Sure.
And I think this is one of Briscoe's best racetracks. But they may have accomplished it very differently. So now Briscoe comes driving what he thinks it should drive like. And James Small has put a car out there that Clark Truex Jr. used to drive. Well, if, 1 + 1 = 3, it's really who compromises? Does Briscoe say, no, I'm not going to change how I drive here, man. I know how to do it here. And is James Small saying, I don't want to change my car because that's a car that almost won here. But maybe it does take a different route. But I think that's harder. Like if you go somewhere that Briscoe's not good, he's just going to drive whatever James gives him. I think this could be a little bit of the anomaly.
Well, the spring race didn't go very well here. Qualified well, but finished 28. Fell to the field early in the race. So you said I think Briscoe's good at this racetrack too, obviously. But so far, they've got to be better as a team.
How about the outlook for Tyler Reddick coming in the playoffs, Steve? I mean, we interviewed him after the race. He was almost sounded depressed, you know. But to the point, the expectation for us at 23-11, and especially on the 45 team, is not just to make the playoffs; it's to make a deep run in the playoffs. And I don't know how this team sets up. What's your opinion on how they set up coming into these 10 races?
I think Darlington this is the most important track for the 45 club. I think he looked shell shocked at Daytona. He can't believe he's there a year after winning the regular season championship. It's a car that got in only on points. We're coming to the racetrack that he told us this week between here and Miami, probably his best racetrack or one of his best racetracks. If he comes here and they're just still average and they don't contend for the win, I don't think they have to win, but have to contend for it. I mean, up there, top 3 or 4, dicing it up, making something happen. If not, if he goes and runs just 10th all day, I don't know if that's like that could be the wind out of the sails for the 45. Now the flip. If he runs the fence all night and he wins this race, I think everything in the first 26 weeks just goes away. And he instantly just is 10 feet tall going into the second round.
So we talked positives, we talked negatives, a lot of conversation about SVG. How far can he get in these playoffs? I said I think he can advance. They got to do everything right. I thought he would have a little more pace here than he has. Currently, 32nd on the board. But more concerning is where he is on older tires. We've seen a lot of people passing. SVG is not up to speed in this practice the way he needs to be. Now, I will say that one thing he and this team do is they get better during the races. But as they sit right now, they're about 3 tenths to maybe 4 tenths of a second off of where they need to be. And in this field, you can't be off that far. You're going to run to the back if you're off that far. So they have some improvement to do. Another playoff team that just got in by the skin of their teeth last week, the 48 of Coleman, they are not good. Their practice speed is off. They're having trouble, Dave. What do you know?
Just that they had a good exit at both ends of the track, but that's not the whole corner, right? She needed to work higher into turn 1. They wanted to work on that, but even that wasn't getting the results that you're talking about, Jeff, that showed up on the stopwatch, on the timing chart. So back in here to make some adjustments to try to make their 48 better. Remember, they got in on points as well, and by a relief, a former winner winning last week was the only way that they made it in on points.
If you're a Bowman fan and you're looking for a highlight, I would say it's where the car sits right now, and that's pit road. They're ranked 4th in 16 playoff teams at a racetrack where we should see 9 or 10 4-tire pit stops. So if they can get the car a little better and you can kind of hang out and stay close, you might be able to kind of manipulate your way or manufacture a better finish than what your car feels like on the racetrack.
Tell you what, Steve, the other team that has me a little worried if I'm a fan of that race team, Chase Elliott. And it's interesting because he came into our meeting the other day, Steve, and said, the number 1 track I'm worried about in the playoffs, everybody's saying Talladega. For me, it's Darlington. That surprised me a little bit.
I was a little taken back by that, but he just didn't sound like a guy that had a lot of answers. We asked him some questions. He said, I don't know more than a few drivers about this race car. He's missing something. He obviously has a ton of talent. That's where that consistency, him and Alan Gustafson, I think, have found a way to advance and make it through these seasons and make it through these playoffs with the only thing they know how to do, which is limit mistakes. It's crazy, but when you look at their rankings, they're top 5 everywhere except for speed and restarts. I would say those are the 2 most important things, is be able to go fast early and go fast the whole run. They're kind of mid-pack when you look at playoff parts for that. That doesn't mean to count them out. I actually think the first round lines up for them because their style is to run all day and finish the races. And if they do that, the first 3 races, I think they advance out of this round.
Speeds he's running right now, very competitive. Just went a 31 or 37th lap, 31.65. That's as good as anybody.
So maybe not the fire off speed, but the long range speed you're saying for Chase Elliott?
Potentially. Sometimes we don't really know why they didn't have good fire off speed. Sometimes it's traffic, right?
Yeah.
So we weren't able to really pay attention. But, if we could do a full in-depth analysis about the speed of this entire run, but late in the run, I think it takes the spot.
This race in my mind, suits kind of Chase's mentality. Like,
Sure.
this thing is statistically the longest race by
Well,
time.
Yep.
Like 500 miles, I know we have a 600-mile race. But I was told once by a driver that 500 miles at Darlington is like running 1,000 at Charlotte.
How about Christopher Bell? I found this comment interesting, Jeff, and he shared it with everybody in media. The playoffs line up perfect for me this year. The tracks are perfect for me this year. I have to take advantage, but does that add pressure to the 20 team? When you look at next year and go, those tracks don't work for me. I need to do it this year.
I think this team believes they're champions. I think this team believes they should have a chance to win the championship. They just got to go do their job, right? So I think that's positive pressure. Pressure is when you don't know if you'll have a job next year or not. I think that for this team, this is exactly where they want to be. This is where they expect to be. They expect to be a contender. Now, at the same token, they don't have the pace that we expect from this team. But this team has done a better job of executing, Steve. But he said it to us. We got to find a little bit of speed. We're not as fast as we've been in the past, but we're a better race team. We can execute better. So play to your strengths, right? Execute, get finishes that you don't always finish better than you ran. But for this team to win the championship, they're going to have to find a little bit of speed.
I think his point about how the racetracks line up this year is that they feel like a track in every round where they should be very good. St. Louis next week at Gateway, they think they'll be very strong. New Hampshire, arguably Bell's best track in the next round. So you look at how it really lays out for Bell and then Phoenix to close it out. See, if they can get there, they feel like they'll be up there with Team Penske among the favorites.
There's one last 2 spring Phoenix races. Just look at that fall race. Yeah, I give away the big trophy.
Yeah.
It's like winning the 400 in Daytona.
Yeah.
How did that feel, Jeff?
Well, I know. Jared's up here with us. He knows how to win the 500 feels. I don't know what that feels like. Did you win the 400?
Did you ever win the 400, DJ?
At Daytona?
He won it once, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So he won that too.
He won that too.
He knows how to win, but
I'm going to take my toys and go home.
That was the most Hall of Famer look ever. Did you win the 400?
he did that. He did that too.
I laugh. I look out the window right now and the track is fun. And I know all 16 playoff drivers are in here, but they're just grinding. They're all making laps.
But I think that's what you
To
want,
the
Steve.
final
Right?
gun.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you want your driver to let's see what it feels like over a long run.
Well, we're talked about that pit road entry. Kosovar took a very conservative approach because he kind of was at the red flags end of practice. These guys, I think, would do it a little bit earlier so you can miss the entry. There you go. This time, lots of room. Let's see what Bell does right here. He's going to run the bottom. At some point, he's going to have to get on to. Oh, he's hard on the brake. Oh, he ended up hanging. Oh, I think he makes it. I think he makes it. Yeah.
Blaney missed it close, right? But Blaney behind him did miss.
Yes.
If he was using Bell as a reference, Bell had no more inches to give.
There we go. Here's a great shot. Bell barely makes it, and Blaney behind him, he could.
Wow.
I can't say with confidence that Bell made it at the right speed,
Yeah.
but he was
Yeah.
below the orange box, which is the requirement.
That was 43 laps for Bell come to pit road. Here's Kyle Larson trying to make it happen.
And that's that scary time when it starts to push back up onto the banking. Wow. So the rule is you cannot touch the orange box, the 5-car well below it. If you touch the orange box, you can go back on the track without penalty. It's just a time loss.
That's why I physically applauded when Harrison Hotspur said I was too conservative.
Yes.
Because that's okay. I mean, it's
All right, practice seconds at this point, winding down. We'll go over the full leaderboard here quickly. We'll go over lap averages leading into qualifying in a matter of moments. Michael McDowell, fastest overall. Top 7 speeds were all from Group 1 of practice with that clean and green racetrack. Bubba Wallace actually had the fastest time in Group 2. I mentioned about 2311 Racing having a lot of speed in practice and qualifying this year. That's no surprise, I guess, that Bubba Wallace was the only one of the Group 2 drivers in the top 10 overall. I think a little bit of a surprise that Ross Chastain was second fastest of this group of cars. Tyler Reddick had good long-run speed, but the short-run speed was lacking. Obviously, you're probably not going to be fast on both ends of that, especially with a racetrack like Darlington Raceway that just eats away at these tires. This is a very old surface. kind of similar to what we had at Richmond a couple weeks ago. We're going to see a lot of tire fall off this weekend. So anyway, full leaderboard, 38 drivers. Michael McDowell had the fastest time in practice overall. Justin Haley was second, Ty Gibbs third, Carson Hocevar fourth, Noah Gregson in fifth, then Todd Gillen sixth, AJ Allmendinger seventh. Now to the Group B drivers. Bubba Wallace was fastest there in eighth, Kyle Busch from Group 1 ninth, Jonathan Nemechek 10th. Ty Dillon 11th, Riley Herbst 12th, Ross Chastain 13th was the fastest, second fastest, in Group 2. Eric Jones, two-time Southern 500 winner, 14th overall. Daniel Suarez was actually in Group 2, so both Trackhouse cars of the 1 and the 99 look pretty quick here. Suarez 15th, William Byron 16th. Obviously, all the playoff drivers, again, were in Group 2, so Byron showing a lot of speed. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 17, Chase Briscoe, 18, Denny Hamlin, 19. They were good on the short run, but the long run, both their cars very, very tight. We'll look at those lap averages in a bit, but they were down the list quite a bit on the longer lap averages side of things. So good short run. They'll be good for qualifying. They're going to have to make some adjustments overnight tonight to try to get them better for the long run for when the race begins tomorrow evening. After Hamlin in 19th, we've got Zane Smith in 20th, Austin Cindric 21st, Tyler Reddick 22nd. He was much better on the long run than the JGR Toyotas. Same for Kyle Larson in 23rd. Austin Dillon 24th, Cody Ware 25th, Christopher Bell 26th, much like his JGR teammates, just struggling on the long run. Joey Logano 27th, Ryan Blaney 28th at the fastest 30-lap average of any driver from Group 2. We'll look at that more in depth here in a couple seconds. So the 28 speed, I wouldn't be concerned as a Blaney fan. Chris Buescher 29th, Ryan Preece 30th. Preece actually got against the wall pretty good in practice and pulled off the track not long after that. Minor repairs are probably going to have to be made before the race tomorrow. I'm sure he'll still be in for qualifying. He did go back out on the track and ended up completing 29 laps in his session. Alex Bowman 31st, Shane Van Gisbergen in 32nd, Josh Berry 33rd, Chase Elliott 34th, all in the playoffs, all struggling mightily for speed here this weekend. Brad Keselowski 35th. Not looking great for RFK. All three of their cars in the first group, might I add, were all outside the top 25 overall. Cole Custer was 36th, Derek Kraus 37th, and Timmy Hill 38th, rounds out the 38-car field. Again, that was overall lap times in practice. Fastest 5-lap average was Michael McDowell. Fastest 10, 15, 20-lap average, Justin Haley. Fastest 25, 30-lap average, Ty Gibbs. But that was with the green racetrack in Group 1. So we fast forward to the Group 2 times. There you see Ryan Blaney would have been the quickest of the Group 2 drivers in the 30-lap average category. William Byron was second, then Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace. So Wallace does have good short run and long run speed. Not as good of long run as short run, even compared to his teammate. But usually when you run the quickest lap times early in the run, at some point you're probably going to fall off a little bit more than others, and that was the case there. But that's why qualifying is so important too, because you can qualify better. You have the track position already. It's a lot easier to maintain when you're already at the front of the field versus if you start behind, you're having to abuse your tires, abuse your equipment early in the race to gain spots. Therefore, you're going to have a hard time kind of settling in when you get to that fall off and that climax point in the tire level for grip. 25 lap average category, again, that was about the same with Blaney, then Byron, Reddick, Cindric, Wallace. I did notice a crossover point was between that 20 and 25 lap average, because the 20 lap average, Byron was actually the quickest, then Blaney, then Reddick. Wallace was a little bit further down the list, so I do think, again, that 23 car is going to have some decent long run speed, all things considered. A lot of the same guys for the most part in that top 5 or top 6 from the mid-range of the playoff drivers for practice speeds, but then into the longer runs, they kind of intertwine in positions a bit. So, I expect Byron to qualify well. He led a lot of laps in the spring. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but he led damn near the entire race and ended up losing late on a pit stop. Denny Hamlin and his team was able to get the win He led every lap of stage 1 and stage 2. I remember that much. About to go on to Racing Reference. Get to the bottom of this. He should be one of the ones to beat this weekend pretty easily. He was a driver that I had circled on my list, and based off the long run speeds in practice, I like him and Blaney. Blaney's never won here at Darlington before. His best finish was in the spring in 5th, where he also had a good long run car, and he actually took the lead in the late going before a caution, which led into the pit stops. He passed Byron late, then the caution came out, and then Hamlin won the race off pit road and eventually was able to win as a result of which. So I'm kind of leaning towards the 12, 24, and the 45 are probably my top 3 right now. It's tough for me to decide. I'd probably go 24, 12, 45. It's probably the order of the top 3 as of right now. We'll see how qualifying goes. If somebody has a hiccup in qualifying, has to start deep in the field, that might change my order just a bit. Why is Racing Reference so slow? Slowing my laptop down. Mike, welcome to the stream. Brett Whitesides, welcome to the stream as well. I didn't shout you out verbally, but I saw you tune in there later in the practice session side of things. 243 laps out of 293 led for Byron. All but 50 laps in the race. Reddick led for 42. And those guys that I mentioned that were my top 3 for this weekend, they all finished top 5 earlier this season. Byron 2nd, Reddick 4th, Blaney 5th. Yeah, early morning NASCAR here this weekend. Triple header on the channel today. We've got a lot of live commentary streaming for you. I put that in the community tab yesterday afternoon, obviously, but obviously this 9 a.m. start for practice and qualifying for the Southern 500 that you are currently watching here on KRC right now. We're about to go into the qualifying coverage side of things as we'll get that leaderboard on here shortly. Not on the raw feed yet. Oh, there we go. It's like a second after I refresh the page. All right, so we've got the qualifying order up on screen. So we'll get into single car qualifying, 1 lap, 1 round, obviously, 38 drivers in the field this weekend. And the playoff drivers will be the last 16 to go out. So they'll be at the tail end of qualifying. None of them will be at the beginning. And that will be the case every weekend as we get through the playoffs. They've been doing that for the last several years as well. But anyway, 9 a.m. Eastern for Cup practice and qualifying, noon Eastern, so a little under 2 hours from now, we are going to go live for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. They're in Darlington, South Carolina this weekend. Portland, Oregon, out west for the NASCAR Xfinity Series standalone race. That will be later this evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's a late start time here in the East. It'll be nighttime here, but obviously daylight out where there are no lights at the Portland International Raceway. And we'll be seeing some road course racing, some good old-fashioned low grip, high-speed oval racing this weekend. So a perfect mix for all your NASCAR needs. Quite a gap period between when the truck race and the Xfinity race will be on the channel, but it is a triple header. Sharitha Cooper, welcome to the stream. Riley Herbst's first car out on the racetrack for qualifying, 2311 Racing. We'll see what he can do. His teammate's obviously very quick through practice and qualifying. I don't expect Herbst to be anywhere necessarily near those guys. 29.445 on the lap time for Riley Herbst as he wraps up his lap. Noah Gragson will be the next in the number 4 Front Row Motorsports. I've noticed True TV. I watch like all my not just sports but just like TV stuff in general off of Hulu, and I am very behind when practice and qualifying has been on True TV this year. I've noticed, but during the races, I'm not as far behind. Like Herb's wrapped up his qualifying lap, and they were still on commercial. So that means by the time Gragson ends up wrapping up his lap, I'd assume Herbst is just going to be finishing his. So I'm going to be a little bit behind. So I kind of have to focus more on looking at the stat sheet more than the TV in front of me. If there's any interviews with any drivers throughout the course of the qualifying session, you'll get to listen into that. Average speed, by the way, on that Herbst lap was 167.010 miles per hour. Gregson's second quickest of the second driver to go out in the Long John Silver's Ford Mustang, 29.511 for Gragson, 166.636 mile per hour average. On to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the number 47, who had a great start to the 2025 season. Kind of tapered off right around the post All-Star break area. They had a couple run-ins, of course, with Carson Hocevar, and that season was derailed from that point on into the week. Stenhouse is currently 29th in points, which is just insane if you really think about it. Because, again, he was top 16 in points for pretty much the entire first half of the regular season. And then it has just been a fall from grace for that 47 team. Only 3 laps led on the year up to this point, 3 top 10s. And that 1 top 5 finish earlier in the season as well. As for Stenhouse, 29.663, third of 3 to kickstart qualifying. Derek Kraus, I believe this is his first Cup start of the season. They'll be driving the 44 for New York Racing, which we've actually seen at quite a few races this year. And even in recent weeks, the 44 team has been out on the racetrack. 30.451 for Kraus, and that will be 4th of 4. So Riley Herbst, who was the first driver to make a qualifying lap, still the quickest. Usually that's not the case when the track gets swept off post-practice, but very respectable lap for all things considered for him going that early in the run. Showed a replay of Stenhouse's lap moments ago. He actually brushed the wall, resulting in that slower lap than the 2 that went before him. Timmy Hill in the 66 on track and just wrapping up his qualifying lap right about now. And here's Ross Chastain with Dave Burns on pit road.
Start, Dave. I've asked Phil Surge in my group, just keep the same balance for qualifying that we just had in practice. And then as on the long run, I'll be honest, though, we fell off pretty hard. So I thought some guys had like pitted and were in the pits for a while and had colder tires. But they did a lot better job keeping their good years, a lot better spot. So I fell off pretty hard, got really loose at the end of practice. So nothing too crazy, but the focus right now is fast laps. No wall and quick lap time.
And 1 lap goes by fast, Marty.
Yeah, second for Chastain of the playoff drivers in practice overall. Pretty decent long run speed. Not as good as his short run speed, but we haven't seen Chastain qualify particularly well throughout the course of the season. I'm curious to see what he can do now that he's further back in the order for qualifying, on top of the fact that he does have a pretty good track record here at Darlington. Timmy Hill's lap, which ended up finishing moments ago, 31.025. And the 6th driver to go out, Carson Hocevar, who was towards the top of the leaderboard at practice, along with his Spire Motorsport teammate Michael McDowell, who was overall quickest. 29.249 for Hocevar, big jump up, almost 0.2 faster than Herbst's lap. Hocevar is now the top time. Carson Hocevar qualified on the front row last season for the Southern 500. It was his first front row start of his Cup Series career. But going out super early in qualifying, I think, is going to hurt him just a bit. I don't think he's going to be able to be anywhere near the front row for this weekend's race. Finishes on the season 2 top 5s for Hocevar, 7 DNFs tied for the most in the Cup Series there. Mamba Smith standing now with Austin Cindric.
How about it? How's your long run speed in this 254?
Yeah, I think long run speed's really strong. Obviously, kind of got to switch your brain over for qualifying here. Big commitment and a lot faster than what I was just going. So no, Discount Tower Ford, I think has a lot of strengths here. So it's not put us in a good spot and a good stall.
Austin Cindric looking forward to tomorrow, guys.
Zane Smith finishing his lap went to the top of the speed charts, 29.245. Immediately after him, former Darlington and former Southern 500 winner Kyle Busch, 29.235 with a 168.209 mile per hour average, quickest there. Now, the fastest lap in practice for Michael McDowell was nearly a 29 flat. Practice times disappeared on me. I think it was a 29.007. I'm not able to go back and look at that for some reason. Usually I can. Let me try refreshing the page and see if that works. Yeah, I've still got nothing there. All right, well, back to qualifying. And 29.235 for Kyle Busch is the quick time. Ty Dillon in the 10 is now up on the racetrack and he actually just finished his qualifying lap. Fourth for Ty Dillon, 29.338. And Cody Ware, 29.997. Also wrapping up his lap recently, 8th quickest for Cody Ware. So we are 10 drivers into qualifying out of 38 already. AJ Allmendinger, John Hunter Nemechek, Brad Keselowski, Todd Gillen, and Michael McDowell will be the next 5. The 5 after them, Ryan Preece, Cole Custer, Ty Gibbs, Justin Haley, and Eric Jones. Turquoise Hawk 358, welcome to the stream. How do I feel about Bowman this year, especially with how he performed last year in the playoffs? So the tracks themselves, I don't think line up quite as good for Alex Bowman this year compared to last. Hendrick Motorsports, I was talking about earlier in the week on the gaming streams, they don't quite have the speed on the bigger, flatter ovals of a Gateway and a New Hampshire, like a JGR and like a Penske especially. And I think the first round, that's probably going to be the worst racetrack for him. His speed in practice right now, not let alone of the playoff drivers, who's outside the top 30. So there's going to be a lot of work done. If he doesn't qualify well for this race, I honestly don't like his chances to get out of the first round just because of Gateway coming up next and just how he looks so far this weekend, to be completely honest. He's been really good on long run speeds with the low grip racetracks. He just finished second at Richmond a couple weeks ago, so I would expect this to be a good track for him. He's ran well here in the past. I'm honestly surprised that he was as far down on the practice leaderboard as he was. Commercial break currently ongoing after qualifying has wrapped up again, those first 10 drivers. Cody Ware got against the fence a couple of times on his qualifying lap of getting 8th with that 29.997 right before they went to break, so they'll sweep the track off a little bit. We'll take a quick break of our own. You're listening live on KRC. Southern 500 qualifying continues at Darlington Raceway. So again, AJ Allmendinger up next. He's 21st in points. He actually lost 3 spots after the Daytona race a week ago in the point standings. Not a good weekend for him there. 5 top 10 finishes on the year for AJ, 1 top 5. Most of those top 10s were pretty early in the season on the lower grip 1.5-mile tracks. Homestead had a great run. Las Vegas. And that first Kansas race, all solid runs for AJ Allmendinger, although Darlington slightly shorter than 1.5 miles in length, about 1 1/3 miles oval. It is low grip, and I think he could have a decent run this weekend of the non-playoff drivers. Very similar season for AJ this year compared to what he ran full-time in the Cup Series a couple years ago. Of course, last season he ended up running full-time in Xfinity Series racing and then jumped back to Cup where he was in 23, excuse me. Was the last we saw AJ full time in the Cup side. So his teammate Ty Dillon's in fourth. See where the 16 car ranks. Better than that. Top of the speed charts by 1/1000th of a second over Busch for that 16 of AJ. 29.234. Yeah, more than a tenth quicker than his teammate Ty Dillon.
It's an expansion, so I think calling might get the biggest turnaround from year one or from last year to this year for me. I know it's not playoff bound. We're going to talk a lot about playoff cars, but a marked improvement in performance for both Ty Dillon and 16.
Look at this turn one. That's in turn two. Really good pace.
That's right, AJ. Make me sound like I know what I'm talking about. I hear the really plan.
Oh, entered a little bit low. See if that hurts its exit. Man, it did, Jeff.
Oh no, here it comes.
It's not done.
Nice lap for the dinger to the top over Kyle Busch.
43 years old. You know, that for the field, that's one of the older drivers to still get it done at 43.
By 1/1000th of a second. How about that? AJ Allmendinger to the top. John Hunter Nemechek takes the green, Dave.
Southern 500 pole sitter last year, Bubba Wallace. Is the potential there today for the 23?
Today's potential, I feel like we're right on top of things. So I appreciate everybody, Merit Speed on this 23 team for showing up with some speed to start the playoffs. Got our gloves and sticks in the game. Now we just need to hit base hits and go out and not do anything special. Not get complacent though. But it's good to be here. It's good to be in the position that we're in. Just go out and have some fun.
No playoff driver was faster in single lap times in practice, guys.
Boy, John Hunter Nemechek was in the green coming into turn 3. Then what happened, Jeff?
Yeah, he ran a completely different line than everyone else. He entered low, kind of ran, just trying to run around the racetrack, the shorter end of the, just making shorter route. Just didn't work out. Now look, you may have run that route for a reason, right? His car wasn't as good on the top. So shouldn't just say, hey, messed up by running the shorter line, because everybody has to do what they feel is in their car's best interest.
That Kane did not have the 1 or 2 he was looking for. Not sure that reason, but a 10th and a half slower than AJ.
He was off in practice too.
Benny back down here.
Brad was.
It's all 1 and 2, which I thought we wouldn't see a big variance down there, but I was wrong.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski 7th. Mamba Smith hanging out with the man who knows how to win poles, Chase Briscoe.
He knows how to win poles. He is our reigning Southern 500 champion. You've had a lot of poles this year, and a lot, we were just talking about it. A lot of those times you haven't felt like you had a great car in practice. How's this car?
Not great practice. Yeah, I don't know. We, on the simulator, we thought our package was really good. We got here, we were just really, really tight. So, yeah, I don't know what to think. Positive James and the boys will get it good. I mean, they always typically do. But, yeah, I think we'll kind of stretch our head. Just kind of the balance we unloaded with versus what we thought we had. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be an uphill battle here in qualifying. Just, going out, we go out 10 from the end, which is a challenge here in itself, just the track changing. So, yeah, I don't know. We're giving our best shot and see if it's enough. I know I have a fast first shot Toyota. It's just a matter of, putting it all together. This place is really hard to qualify at. So, hopefully I can do it.
Steve, you always tell us if you're at raw speed, you have raw speed.
Yeah, speed fixes everything. That's right, Mom. I mean, we talk about execution on it requirements. Michael Liddell almost peels the decal off. I mean, I didn't hit it, but he was close. Speed is the answer. Great 1 and 2, though. Only 300 behind. And look at 0.234, 235, 245. I mean, 200s basically knocks you out of the top 5. So close.
Yeah, Todd Dillon was only 3 100ths behind, and he's down there in 5th. And here goes Michael McDowell up to 4th.
McDowell and Hocevar can go to the team meeting this week and say that they drove exactly the same in qualifying.
Exactly right. The same exact times for those Spire teammates as the 60 of Ryan Priest takes the green flag. Well, what an onboard shot that is.
Love this shot. I mean, I was interested in the bottom right. He drives. I mean, he is all the way. Look, at leans his head forward like he's ready to fight somebody with.
Remember how you said Kyle Larson was so smooth on the wheel? Look at Ryan Preece fighting it. And almost to the pole it looked like, but that shows you how tight
Oh, yeah.
the field is. Look at that. He's
Good
only
news.
two
Your
100s behind.
your good news, 200s off the pole. Bad news, that's 6.
That exactly.
Have you ever seen it this close, Jeff?
7 cars. Think about this. 7 cars. 29.23 to a 29.26. That is just unheard of.
So the question is, what's the pole going to be?
That's a great question. We're
Faster.
going to put our money down on that, Steve. Well, we should do that right now, or is it too late?
Well, the spring it was a 28.77, which is a half a second faster than what we're currently running. I don't know if that exists out here today.
How about this?
Cole Custer to the top.
Wow.
And he takes away that 23 bracket that we were talking about.
Hey, the other driver though last week that put himself and his organization at least in the conversation that was closing laps. Remember, the big block that Haley had to make was to block 41 of Custer making his run to the front.
And I would argue Ryan Blaney doesn't win that race without Cole Custer.
A massive 1 and 2 by Ty Gibbs. He was lower, car was pointed, and the rev chip getting into 3.
Well, that 28 something maybe is out there. What a corner, what a lap.
I mean, 1 and 2
he
was
le-
impressive. The car was pointed the entire way through the corner. It allowed him to run lower, allowed him to be in the gas sooner on the exit of 2. That was a huge 1 and 2.
Gibbs did
20
Gibbs did overdrive in 3 and 4 a bit. He gave up a lot of the time that he did gain in 1 and 2. Still the fastest overall, but I think he had more in him for an overall lap. 29.127 for Gibbs.
This is because you just talked about how good Gibbs.
And Haley's going to be even better.
Able to basically match it.
Can he get him through 3 and 4?
Oh, can he stay in the gas? Like, got a little tight right in the middle.
And but in the green. And Haley knocks off Gibbs.
Remember that McDowell, host of our conversation. Now in the meeting, they need to ask Haley how he qualified. Because he's got to buy a couple pence.
Yes,
Do it like
he does. Back with more qualifying for the Southern 500 and True TV.
Alrighty. We are about halfway through. 19 down, 19 to go. Got 3 more non-playoff drivers. Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Daniel Suarez will be up next. They were all also in Group 2 when it came to practice. Jones looked pretty quick. Same for Daniel Suarez in that group. Not as much for Chris Buescher. RFK is definitely lacking a bit here this weekend. And then the first playoff driver to go out will be Austin Cindric, followed by Alex Bowman, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Briscoe. And then I think they'll have a commercial break after Briscoe and then round out the rest of the qualifying order, which we'll go through when we get that far into the stream. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more NASCAR content like this every NASCAR race weekend. We are live for Cup Series practice, qualifying, as well as races for the Truck Xfinity Cup Series. We do have one more ARCA race we're going to be doing before the end of the season. I do plan on doing the Bristol race ARCA live commentary stream. I will be going to Bristol, but that will be for the Cup and Xfinity race. I will be live for the ARCA and truck races on Thursday. I have to work that Thursday. I don't have any more vacation days left for the rest of the season, so I'm working a full day that day. Coming home, we'll do the doubleheader with the live commentary streams, then I'm going to leave out the next morning, and I'm off, obviously, for the rest of the weekend. So we will have 2 live commentary streams that weekend, and then race highlights from the grandstands for 2 races that weekend as well. Be sure to hit the like button so we can try to drive that goal to 50, which was the pre-stream goal. 50 likes for today's stream. We are a little bit past halfway there. We're getting down to the end of practice and qualifying. Obviously, with the earlier stream, that's probably why a lot of you guys may be just waking up and tuning in. Have a good morning. And we've still got plenty of NASCAR coverage for not only the weekend, but today especially. We have the truck race coming up at noon Eastern time here, about an hour and a half from now for Darlington Raceway. Portland road course racing for the Xfinity Series later tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern as well. Eric Jones on the racetrack, 2-time Southern 500 winner. including once in the next-gen era back in 2022 with this 43 car.
Yeah, flat. Looking in full health, by the way.
But yeah, I know. Yeah, the lip is gone. All right, if you want a dark horse pick, it's not a very long shot for me because he's won here a couple times.
Yes.
But I just think that some of the handicapping locations, if you choose to partake in that. Eric Jones, I tell you, Legacy's improved all year. They brought unbelievable speed to Indy. Like, there's been steps. Why not? Why not Eric Jones? I don't know if it's going to happen here in qualifying, but this track for him, it suits him, his style. I think Legacy keeps getting bigger. So much focus on the playoffs. It would be a huge storyline if he could upset everyone.
And I thought, Jeff, he was going to win Daytona twice in the final few laps. He was leading, then got shuffled out and came back up and finished fifth.
That recovery that he had was amazing to get moved all the way back to the mid pack of that pack and then drive back up. It was pretty amazing. I know he was disappointed that he didn't win, but this team, it is heading in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. About halfway through this year, they really started heading in the right direction. And I think that continues into next year.
Chris Buescher, always a threat when it comes to Darlington. Finished third here last spring. Nearly won the race. That infamous argument with Tyler Reddick after the race.
You know, Chris, but this is crazy to say, but he is probably one of the most well-rounded drivers. Like, name a track where he can't win.
You can't find it.
You know, like,
He's quick everywhere, and that's
Right.
the point they make. We've got speed everywhere we go. Got speed here in qualifying too.
I just wasn't able to roll the middle and exit of 3 and 4 as well as he wanted to. Good lap. Just lost it center and off of 3 and 4.
Daniel Suarez, second at Daytona last week.
still no news out of the Suarez camp for 2026, or none that I'm aware of. You know, he won't be back in this car. It's a tough kind of landscape when I look across really all three of the Premier Series, like Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. There's just not as much movement as we have seen in other years.
All right, love what he did on corner entry. Let's see if it helps the exit. There's so many drivers have entered low into turn 3. He did the opposite. He entered on the high side. It did not gain him on corner exit, but I like that. I think
Yeah, it's not a bad lap. Fourth for Suarez, 29.172. On to the first playoff driver, Austin Cindric, on the racetrack. Opening round of Darlington Gateway Bristol. He was a winner at Gateway last season. He was pretty solid in practice so far this weekend for Darlington. He was actually top 5 in those long run categories, 20, 25, and 30 lap averages. And good short run speed as well, because he is tracking to get that pole time away from Justin Haley right now, flirting with a low 29.0. Off of turn 4, it's going to be in the 29 still, but it is the top time. Austin Cindric, 29.023, 169.43, 8 mile per hour average. Now on to Alex Bowman and the 48 Ally Chevrolet. And Bowman actually did wrap up his lap moments ago. He was struggling in practice earlier. Not a great qualifying lap either for him. 15th at the time, 29.269. Bubba Wallace soon after him bumps him down to 16th as Wallace takes the top time with a 28.985. He was on the pole for the Southern 500 last year. He was the fastest of the playoff drivers and really anybody in Group 2 in the practice session, which took place not long ago. And so there you have it. Bubba Wallace, currently top of the speed chart. Our first sub 29 second lap time, not only of qualifying, but practice combined. That's going to be a tough lap to beat. Let's see if anybody can get it done. Got some great drivers, obviously, still to go. After Wallace, we'll be on to Joey Logano, who is a former Goodyear 400 winner. He has never won the Southern 500. Pretty good qualifying lap, though, for Joey. 29.080. Fourth quickest for Logano. 2 spots off his teammate Austin Cindric. His other teammate Ryan Blaney still to go. Austin Dillon in the 3 car now up next He's never won at Darlington, but he was runner-up in the 2020 Southern 500. This is kind of one of those good underrated tracks, the low grip racetracks on these back kind of portion regular season, early playoffs. Great for Dylan, a win at Richmond 2 years in a row, and he's had good runs at Darlington over the years as well. I'm not going to say he's going to come into this race and compete for the win, but he can be quick, and he's quick in qualifying. 29.004, second for Austin Dillon. Within a couple hundredths of Wallace's top time. That was pretty impressive. His teammate Kyle Busch a little bit further down the list. Busch currently in 12th, so that was a big pickup for Dillon. Tyler Reddick in the 45 for 2311 Racing. Never a Darlington winner, but he has 3 top 3 finishes. He's finished top 4 5 times and 5 top 10s in the Gen 7 era, which spans over 7 races. He's led 307 laps over the last 4 races at Darlington Raceway. And Tyler Reddick also goes to the top of the speed charts, 28.848. More than a tenth quicker than his teammate Bubba Wallace. What a lap by Reddick. I mentioned the Wallace time is going to be tough to beat. That right there from Tyler Reddick is going to be tough to beat. Way tougher. That might be the pole lap for Reddick. After him will be Chase Briscoe, another Toyota driver, our first of the playoff drivers for GGR of the 3. He's last year's Southern 500 winner. He finished 5th in the spring race this season to go as well. And Briscoe goes to the top, even a tenth quicker than Reddick. 28.715. What a lap by Briscoe. I'll eat my words again. Couple consecutive drivers, I'll eat my own words. I wasn't certain that Wallace was going to have the pole time, but I was certain it was going to be a great lap and tough to beat. Reddick, I was almost certain he had the pole, and then I kind of forgot Chase Briscoe's won a lot of those this season, and he was up next. And more than a tenth faster than Reddick. He's got over 2.5 tenths to third place on Wallace. And again, that lap was not, bad by any means. Obviously, third quickest. What a lap by Briscoe as he tries to go for yet another pole on the season. I mean, he is the modern day Rocket Man. Why is it an early qualifying? Qualifying and practice was early this week because the truck race is at noon. Xfinity race is on tonight. So they just got a lot packed in one day with the Xfinity Series in Portland. We've had morning practice and qualifying before. This is, I think, the 4th time this season that we've seen practice and qualifying, or just qualifying if it's been a super speedway in the morning hours. We had a lot more of them last year. NASCAR is staggered out with a lot more truck races on Fridays this year compared to last. So not doubling up the truck and Xfinity races both on Saturdays when they're at the track at the same weekend has kind of led to more practice and qualifying action for the Cup Series in the afternoon rather than the morning. But truck and Xfinity both on today. That's why practice and qualifying, because Xfinity practice and qualifying, I believe, would be after the truck race for TV purposes. And then obviously their race later on tonight. Briscoe told us he wasn't great in practice. They had good short run speed. Long run speed, not so much. All 3 JGR cars were pretty good on the short run, but not on the long run. What a lap, though, by Briscoe. 28.715. And what a season that he has had so far this year as he tries to go for yet another pole. I believe he's got double-digit front row starts. In 26 races, I think he's got at least 10 front row starting positions. That lap average, by the way, 171.255 for Chase Briscoe. What a lap. We'll take another break. You're listening live on KRC as our practice and qualifying coverage continues. Just 9 drivers to go in qualifying before we wrap things up. We'll see who's going to have the pole for this year's Southern 500. I like how on the point standings it shows how many spots were gained from one week to the next, and where SVG was in the regular season standings, where he starts the playoffs as a 6th seed, he gained 18 positions. He was 24th after the regular season standings wounded up, which I believe he was 34th before he had his first win. So he had a pretty good summer, not only just with those 4 wins. That carried a lot of it, but he was getting better on the ovals as well to gain 10 positions in points over the course of about the last 10 races. Denny Hamlin in the 11, 5-time Darlington winner. He's got the most wins at this racetrack of any active driver. He also is the Southern 500 winner of a couple seasons ago, back in 2022 with the next gen, 2021 with the Gen 6. Had that backwards. He hasn't won a next gen Southern 500, but he's obviously been very good here at Darlington. And he sets the top time. I'm just going to stop talking as far as like who I think is going to get the pole at this rate. 28.694. 28.694 for Hamlin. Couple hundreds quicker than Briscoe. So we've gone from a 28.9, which is the first 29-second lap difference, then the 28.8, then the 28.7, and now a 28.6. I'll tell you what, these playoff drivers, they came to compete this weekend. Austin Dillon is top 5. Cindric is 6th. I think Joey Logano is the only playoff driver that isn't in the list of the drivers who have made a qualifying run so far for consecutive drivers at the top of the leaderboard for those that are in the playoffs, if that makes any sense. That was long worded. I didn't explain that very well. Justin Haley, I should say specifically, is the only non-playoff driver that breaks up the brigade of playoff drivers at the front of the field. Logano's just 1 spot behind him. William Byron in the 24, 8th quickest. 29.025 for Byron. Former Darlington winner. He's a spring race winner of 2023. Five top 10 finishes for Byron, 3 top 5s, and his last 6 Darlington starts as well. Ross Chastain for Trackhouse Racing on the racetrack and just about to round up his qualifying lap. He has finished 3rd in the last 2 races at Darlington Raceway, which will be last year's Southern, or sorry, no, I have that wrong. 3rd, I had the wrong driver there. 3rd in the 2021 Southern 500, his best career finish. He finished 5th in the last 2 Southern 500s, and he was 7th in the spring race earlier this season. This is one of his better racetracks as far as consistency goes. He was pretty quick in practice, qualifying, looking solid. I mean, he's up in the top 10, 4th quickest, 28.933. He's the only non-Toyota to run a sub 30-second lap time, so that was impressive. We don't see Chastain qualify particularly well through most of this season, but that was a great lap for that of Ross Chastain. And his teammate SVG up next. Van Gisbergen finished 20th in the spring Darlington race. He finished 26th in last year's Southern 500. Those are his only 2 prior Darlington starts. Of course, he's a rookie in the Cup Series this season. And he's a couple tenths off of where Denny Hamlin is for the top time. No surprise there. About a half a second off. 16th for Shane Van Gisbergen, 29.223. He's improved in qualifying this year. He's kind of qualifying more in the top half of the field than the bottom half outside the top 30 like he was earlier in the season. That's probably going to be the case again here this weekend. I mentioned about the playoff drivers in that consecutive order, by the way. I completely forgot Alex Bowman has been struggling this weekend. Bowman is 25th right now. Could be a threat for a good starting position. That would be Christopher Bell in the 20. He's the last of the Toyotas to make a lap in qualifying. He has finished 3rd in the last 2 races at Darlington. I had that flipped around with Chastain stats on my stat sheet here. 3 top 5 finishes, 4 top 10s in the next gen era at Darlington, and he is in the top 5 for qualifying so far. 5th with a 28.962. Josh Berry for the Wood Brothers is up. After Berry will be Elliott Larson Blaney to finish out qualifying. Josh Berry finished 3rd in the 2024 spring race at Darlington. That's his only top 10 finish. He has a DNF in last year's Southern 500 as well as this year's spring race. Great qualifying effort, though, for Berry as he breaks up the Toyota brigade at the front. Third quickest for Barry, not quite on the front row, 28.829 with just over 170.5 mile an hour average. So Josh Berry, third quickest, impressive here in qualifying. Chase Elliott is on next. No laps led for Elliott in the last 9 Darlington starts, but he does have 5 top 12 finishes, 3 top 10s, and 2 top 5s. So he's consistent, just not with the race winning speed. His best finish in his career at Darlington Raceway, third in 2023 in the spring. And just like his teammate Alex Bowman was struggling in practice earlier on this morning, and here for qualifying, not that great either. 19th for Elliott, 29.226. His teammate Kyle Larson had pretty good speed, same for the 24 of Byron in practice. Byron a lot better in qualifying than that of his teammates, 10 for Byron. Kyle Larson just put his lap time 5th for Larson, 28.925. Larson, former Southern 500 winner with this next-gen car. In fact, that's his only career win at Darlington. He leads a lot of laps here, but only 1.5s, 2 stage wins, and over 300 laps led in the last 2 Southern 500s combined. So he was great here last season, ended up finishing 4th. And here this season should be pretty quick as well. He was top 5 in the long run average pacing for the playoff drivers. And now on to Ryan Blaney. Blaney will finish out qualified. He finished 5th in the spring race this season. 9th in both races in 2023. He DNF'd in both races in 2024. So kind of all over the map with the next gen. Laps, actually took the lead with a couple laps to go in the spring before a caution in that overtime restart. Not a bad lap for Blaney, but nothing near the pole time. 12th, 29.032. That will wrap up qualifying. Denny Hamlin on the pole for this year's Southern 500 at JGR Lockout. I believe the 11th front row start for Chase Briscoe this season. He is second with a 28.715. The pole time again for Hamlin, 28.694 with a 171.381 mile per hour average. Denny Hamlin will lead the start on race day tomorrow evening. You'll get to hear from him in a couple of moments with his interview. I'm sure we'll get an interview from Chase Briscoe as well. Once I get caught up on Hulu. Fam Hall, welcome into the stream, by the way. I didn't see you there in the chat. I have to turn the chat off for some of the qualifying stuff so I can go through those stats because that's all on my phone. All right, here's your pole sitter, Denny Hamlin.
Wow, for Chase Briscoe. Chase said that you ripped turns 3 and 4. How'd that car feel?
It turned. We struggled with the balance really all during race practice, and so we made some good adjustments there to go 1 lap, and felt like it was really good. The sport clips to it, and did everything I needed to do, and yeah, it's awesome to come here and get a pole. You've won here before a few times. Do you feel like this car has what it takes on the long run to get it done again? We're gonna have to work on it. We definitely have some work to do, no doubt about it. But starting up front is certainly a big advantage. We'll go back, reset tonight, do a bunch of work, and we'll be stronger tomorrow.
Denny Hamlin feeling good about his number 11 Toyota.
How about this? For all the success that Denny...
I don't have my race win pick yet. Obviously, I always give that in the pre-race for the Cup Series live commentary streams. I don't think I'm taking Denny Hamlin for the win. He is definitely going to be a threat for it. This guy also going to be a threat. Chase Briscoe, who's with Dave Burns.
That would sting. So I definitely could have went faster. I just underdrove 3 and 4. My 1 and 2 I knew was really, really good, and I just didn't want to go down into 3 and overdo it and hit the wall or something. And I just underdrove. But I'm sure every driver in the field, right, they could do it again if you go faster. So yeah, that one will sting for a while, just knowing all the crown jewels and everything. But overall, good recovery for our Bass Pro Shops Toyota team. Practice we're not great, so another great recovery by the guys to turn this thing around and put ourselves into position at least for tomorrow. So that's the main goals, playoffs. 4 crown jewel poles would have been awesome, but the overall champion would be even better. So yeah, got ourselves a good start to the playoffs, and hopefully can cap it off again tomorrow.
How would you describe that delta you've been working on all year with James and the whole crew on getting from practice, which may not have been great, to 6 poles? It could have been a 7th today, but I mean, you got to make that transition for the race tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun just to see our progress. I feel like, especially internally, right? If you look at the first 10 races of the year versus the last 15, it's 2 totally different race teams. So yeah, typically I would be panicked if we got out after practice and we're off like that. But with these guys, I know they're going to give me a ride, and Yeah, I think today was honestly surprising for all of us just how far off we were unloading. It's not what we had expected, at least is the way we missed it. So yeah, we're gonna look at it tonight and it'll be good tomorrow, I'm sure.
Chase, thanks a lot. Guys, you talked about that expectation level for him this year with this race car. Well, what about that? No panic situation either. They just go out, they figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it seems like they can find the combination to make it right.
All right, we're going to go through the starting lineup for tomorrow's Cookout Southern 500. Again, in all JGR front row, Denny Hamlin, 5-time Darlington winner, and last year's Southern 500 winner, Chase Briscoe. In row number 2 will be Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, both looking for their first career wins at Darlington. Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain in row 3. Kyle Larson, the 2022 Southern 500 race winner. 2023 Southern 500 race winner. On to row 4, Christopher Bell and Bubba Wallace, who's a pole sitter last year. Wallace quickest in practice of the playoff drivers, so we'll see what his long run pace will be in the race tomorrow. That was also pretty good. Same for Christopher Bell in 7th. Austin Dillon, former runner-up of this race in 2020, will be inside of row 5, and Austin Cindric alongside him. Row 6 will be a spring Darlington winner of William Byron back in 2023, and Ryan Blaney, who finally had his first Darlington top 5 earlier this spring. In row 7, Justin Haley and another former spring race winner at Darlington, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher with Ty Gibbs will round out row number 8 in those top 16 positions. Row 9, Daniel Suarez, Cole Custer. Eric Jones, the 2-time Southern 500 winner, on the inside of row 10 alongside rookie and playoff driver Shane Van Gisbergen. Chase Elliott starting back half of the field inside of row 11 alongside AJ Allmendinger, and row 12 will be Kyle Busch, another former Darlington winner, and Zane Smith. Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar for Spire Motorsports in row 13. Ryan Priest, Todd Gillen, row 14. Alex Bowman, the last of the playoff drivers this weekend for qualifying, starting 29th in row 15 alongside John Hunter Nemechek. Behind them in row 16, Ty Dillon and Brad Keselowski, the 2018 Southern 500 winner. Riley Herbst with Noah Gragson in row 17. Row 18 for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Cody Ware. And row 19 rounding out the field, Derek Kraus and Timmy Hill. So 38 cars again on the field for this weekend. Great qualifying effort here for Denny Hamlin. Great lap. Congratulations to him and good luck to him and many others for tomorrow's NASCAR Cup race. Will be live for that at 5:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow evening. Night racing, Labor Day weekend here at Darlington. Tradition that still goes on. As far as the NASCAR action for today's live commentary stream still to come, we have 2 more. About an hour from now at noon Eastern time, we'll be live for the Craftsman Truck Series race. We'll also be live for the NASCAR Xfinity race at Portland later tonight. Trucks are at Darlington. See ya. Have a good next hour, and we'll be back for more shortly.